fuck. The fastest way I see businesses stall sales is by hiring into a motion that is not yet defined. And the worst part is that it always feels like you're doing the right thing when you're in it. Revenue needs to grow. You and the team are stretched. Pipeline feels inconsistent. And the visibility into that pipeline, let's just call it optimistic, okay? So the answer becomes, let's hire. Or some SaaS bros acting like SaaS stands for salvation as a service and they're trying to shove some new tech down our throats. No. So now what happens? Companies aren't hiring to scale into a system. They're still trying to figure out what that system should be. And look, that's two completely different jobs. If your sales motion isn't defined, so what I mean by that is if you don't know how you generate pipeline, how deals move forward, what actually drives conversion, guess what? You don't have a sales system or a sales motion. You have a sales situationship. As someone who's been in a lot of situationships, let me tell you, it's not fun. By the way, I'm Talitha. I'm your resident sales nerd and sales evangelist. I've closed $750 million in sales, cosplayed as a sales bro for way too long, and made every mistake in the book so that you don't have to. But now, and around these parts, hope is not a sales strategy. So I'm here to share some insights so that you can sell better and not as a sales bro. So look, as someone who has spent way too long pining after a dude who was, granted impossibly cool, he wore those comfortable threadbare tees and he spoke exclusively in Pusha T lyrics, he didn't want me. And if you've ever been in a sales situationship, you already know how this ends. There are undefined expectations, a lot of mixed signals. Everyone is doing their best unless your name is Dylan. And then, I wonder what Pusha T would have to say about that. But nobody is actually aligned. So someone is going to get hurt. And so what I see all the time, and this is particularly true with teams that already have traction, I will hear them say, we just need one more rep, or we want a sales manager, or can you hire us an appointment setter? Meanwhile, underneath all of that, they're still trying to figure out what channels convert, what buyers actually close, what messaging is resonating with their people, what a real opportunity even looks like. And when you hire into that amount of ambiguity, you're basically asking someone to perform marriage inside of a situationship. And when that happens, one of two things always shows up. So from the outside, it's going to look or sound like this. They're not ramping up fast enough, or they're not closing, or they are not proactive enough. Meanwhile, internally, there is no shared definition of what is a good pipeline? What does that actually look like? What is a qualified deal? How do we know? How does the team know? Do we have shared language around that? How are deals supposed to progress? Who is doing what? And so everyone compensates. There's more activity, there's more outreach, there's a heroic amount of effort, which is exactly what happens in a situationship. When nothing is defined, everyone just tries harder. They communicate more, they do more, they will overfunction, and then somehow it still doesn't work. And this is where it starts to get expensive, because when the sales motion isn't clear, whatever role you hire, it's going to expand to fill that gap. So now you have hires doing outbound. They're doing inbound follow-up. They're cleaning up the CRM. They're doing some BD while they're at it. They're messaging. They're refining the messaging, and they're closing, which, just for shits and giggles, involves completely different skill sets and a wild amount of code switching. And then I'll hear leadership say, why can't we just find someone who can do all of it? Because that's not a role. That is what a situationship looks like at scale. It's kind of like if you were going on a date and you're trying to figure out compatibility and communication styles and long-term plans all at the same time, all before I've even finished my glass of Prosecco. Ooh, David, you skipped the part where we decided if we even liked each other. So the issue isn't hiring, it's knowing what to define first. I will often see companies go hire, hope, adjust. What actually works is define, validate, hire, scale. Because before you expand your sales team, you have got to be able to clearly answer, where does our pipeline actually come from? What differentiates a deal that closes versus stalls? What messaging is driving action? What does our buyer's journey even look like? And I'm not talking about in theory, I'm talking about in practice. Because as soon as you can clearly define that, now you're not hiring into a situationship, you're hiring into something that feels good. It's got shape, it's a defined motion, there are clear responsibilities and known levers for performance. And so now the team is not guessing, they're executing. So when the sales motion is clear, a strong sales team is going to amplify it. When it's not clear, they'll still amplify it, which is how you end up with a very expensive situationship.